Hello everybody and welcome back to the Jack Threlfall Show right in the heart of the Monaco Harbour, brought to you by sports.com. We're here on the boat right in the heart of the harbour on a beautiful sunny Saturday morning. We had 2 practice sessions yesterday and we're looking forward to qualifying later. It's the most important qualifying session of the year. Putting your car on the front row gives you the best chance of victory, and it was Max Verstappen who took the fastest session time yesterday with a 1:12.462 on the soft tyre. I think what people had been getting wrong a little bit in their predictions for this week was saying that the Red Bull had such a high top speed so far in the circuits that that's what their car was biased towards. But I think what people are missing is that the reason the Red Bull had such a high top speed is because that's what those circuits were demanding. It's not that high downforce is a weakness of their car, it's just that that's what they tailored it towards to get the advantages at places like Baku, places with long straights like Miami. So we come here, we know the engineers can nail the low downforce setups, the high speeds. There's no reason to look past them for victory on Saturday. What we did have though in the first session was Carlos Sainz leading, which was a pretty epic result for them, building the confidence, getting the Ferraris jazzed up. We've got Charles Leclerc in a new suit this weekend representing Monaco. We can see just over there, that'll be the podium he's looking to stand on. But here are your top 10s from the first 2 sessions. Let's say what we can see. Fernando Alonso also looking strong. He thinks it's his best chance at a win in any race this year, the 33rd career victory and potentially his first since the Spanish Grand Prix in 2013. That would be pretty epic. As I said, for Max Verstappen in FP2, it's our most representative conditions of what we'll see later at 4 p.m. today in qualifying. It's the same temperature, the same time it's going to take place, but we had a lot more wind yesterday. Up here on the top of the boat, the noise through the microphones was getting pretty crazy and demanded a bit of jiggery in the editing booth. Most of the tech talk this weekend has been centered around the Mercedes. They've got new front suspension, they've got new side pods. Hopefully getting those working together is a chance to bring them the victory here. But as I said in my previous kind of predictions video, we were thinking it's a bit of a risk for Mercedes to bring the new parts here. We saw crashes yesterday from Alex Albon, from Carlos Sainz and from Kevin Magnussen. If those were the Mercedes, they were crashing the cars with the new upgrades on. Those upgrades have gone in the bin. It's very, very expensive to bring parts here, particularly prototype ones. Could get in some really, really tricky situations if you're going to throw a shunt in the wall today, particularly in this morning's practice. You're going to put your team under a huge amount of pressure to get that thing built and ready for qualifying. We saw that with Logan Sargent yesterday. Logan Sargent last time out in Miami. Missed qualifying, wasn't even able to put a lap in and started last because of that. There's a great explanation from Sam Collins in his Tech Talk series on the F1 YouTube channel that goes into great detail about just how these Mercedes upgrades are planning to work. It's bringing us back a little bit to the 2021 regulation era where we had the sticky uppy bits on the barge boards and all those little extra details, trying to fine tune the detail. Hopefully Lewis Hamilton will be more happy with these upgrades. He was putting a gap on his teammate George Russell in the first session yesterday. He's thinking we need to get this handling balance more towards the rear of the car. He feels like he's sitting too far forward, like he's not confident in getting that rear round, and we know how tight the walls are here, so it's going to be a real problem if you don't have that confidence. But with the new bits on the car, I think there's also a psychological effect with Lewis. He knows he's got the new parts, so maybe he can kind of fill in that gap with confidence to feel almost a placebo effect, like he knows the car has new bits. He can feel like he's got the ability to pull more pace out because he's not driving the old car that he knows he's had his problems with. We had Albon, Sainz and Magnussen in the wall yesterday, but unexpectedly it was none of the rookies. Logan Sargent, Nick De Vries and Oscar Piastri all stayed out the barriers with relatively clean sessions. The McLarens had some signs of light in their pace, particularly in the first practice session. We know they've got a special livery for this weekend. As for every team, it's a great marketing opportunity. If you can nail a performance at the Monaco Grand Prix, it gives your press officers huge amounts to work with for the rest of the year. All the sponsors, all the investors are here looking to find their next Formula One team to sponsor. If you can show them that your car is going to be one running in the top 10 in the points, you can drive the price up, bring a bit more money to the team, and maybe, like the Mercedes, end up with some new parts later on in the season. We spoke to Jamie earlier on this week about how Formula One are managing the broadcast this year, a deviation from the standard managers of the broadcast, the Monaco Automobile Club. So that we've got some new camera angles that you can see in the broadcast pointed higher up in the buildings that I think give a really good sense of just how tight the track is, just how weaved these cars are going through the streets of Monaco. You can hear behind me the Pirelli hot laps. You can hear behind me the Pirelli hot laps going around at the moment. We also have the Formula 2 and Formula 3 sprint races coming up later today, which are going to be critical for those young drivers looking to make an impact. We know that a victory here can really make a name in your CV. If you send that off to one of the Formula One teams, they're going to see a victory here in Monaco stand out. It's the circuit that tests the drivers the most. So if you can pass that test better than any one of your contemporaries, you'll do a pretty good job at getting your way into Formula One. Between Lewis, Max, Alonso and the Ferraris touching each other, there are a lot of problems with traffic in practice, and it's only going to get amplified as we head into qualifying. You can get a penalty, you can get your lap invalidated if you mess that up, and it's really, really brutal. The atmosphere was in full swing last night on the walk home, all the way from where we are in the swimming pool section up to Rascasse. The street parties were out, the vibes were positive, and I think there'll be some hungover and ready to sleep through the first few sessions people in the crowd this morning. I can see them just filling in at the moment, but I don't think it'll get really ramped up here until later on in the day. But we've got qualifying in the afternoon, and hopefully by then we'll have people ready to cheer. I think the home fans are looking for that Charles Leclerc victory. Of course, we also have Arthur Leclerc running in Formula 2, so maybe a double trouble victory for them. In terms of organiser notes, one other thing that Jamie had mentioned actually was that since we have kind of Formula One running the cameras, running the sponsorship this weekend, we've got more advertising on the barrier. So that traditional silver Armco look is changed up a bit this year, and it's a new challenge for the photographers, but a kind of an economic opportunity for Formula One and something that they're never going to really turn down. So if we look back at our championship tables now, we can see just how tight that midfield is, right? We know the wider you can make your car in Monaco, if you're starting in that top 10, it's going to be a great opportunity to score points. Maybe if you're towards the back end of that field, you're on single digits at the moment, this is going to be your chance, but how hard do you push, right? You can only do that if you've got confidence in your car and confidence in your own ability. The cars are so wide, anyone that plays the F1 game knows just on the exit over there is an absolutely brutal wall. Clipping that rear tyre as you head into the Nouvelle chicane can screw up even the finest drivers. We had some pretty hefty ones coming out of the tunnel in the Porsche Super Cup yesterday, some pretty dramatic crashes. The marshals are on their game, we've got the cranes running around the track, trying to get everyone safe as quickly as possible, but nailing when those flags come out is going to be really critical for the organisers, because there's a lot of pressure put on them in a situation like this. When you have so many blind corners, you have to nail that race direction, and hopefully the trained, the well-drilled marshals here in Monaco can do that. We've of course got the fires ready to be managed by the team here, as well as the people waiting in the water just over there, which is a reference a long way back in Formula One where we had a crash down the hill, someone falling into the water. We now have people waiting out there to pull any cars out just in case, but they've got some boats in the way this year. The harbour's filling up pretty dramatically now. I can see boats in pretty much every direction. Super yachts back over that way. Smaller one, I think Conor McGregor's down there somewhere in his Lamborghini boat, and everyone's just filled up, ready to get for this action on track. We mentioned that they were having traffic problems in Formula 1. Imagine what that's going to be like in Formula 3 when you've got 10 extra cars. Yes, they're smaller cars, but they're also more inexperienced drivers, and the teams don't have the same facilities that the Formula 1 teams have in terms of track maps, in terms of seasoned engineers, in terms of race engineers, and that chemistry with their drivers to nail that communication. That's something that we see be really, really powerful at the top of Formula 1. Relationships like GP and Max or Bono and Lewis Hamilton are so good at kind of communicating when, for example, the blue flags are coming, when you're going to have to let people past. That kind of thing is one of the missteps I think people miss out on. So critical to get that right, to find that gap in the right place and to be able to work together with the other drivers. It's a bit like MotoGP. You don't want to have too many enemies because you sort of need some help to find your gap. If you piss too many people off, no one's going to let you pass. They're not going to give you a gap to get through. But if you're polite, you let someone pass, they might pay you back later on. And hopefully at least we'll see some teammates working together to do that. But I think both Ferraris feel like they've got a chance at the victory, so maybe that won't happen with them. We know the two Red Bulls are fighting it out at the top of the table. But I think with the rest of them, the midfield teams, they need that teammate dynamic to help each other out. There's not really much of an opportunity to give a tow here. Even on the pit straight, it's hardly a pit straight. It is a DRS zone, but I think of all the circuits we go to, it's probably the most useless DRS zone because passing into Sandoval is incredibly risky for both cars, and the risk-reward maths just don't work in your favour there. We saw that by Alex Albon with his heroics yesterday, or therefore lack of. So what do you think? Will it be Fernando Alonso that takes the victory? Will it be Max Verstappen? Could Sergio Perez bring that championship gap back down to single digits before we head into Canada? We know there's a lot more overtaking in Canada and an opportunity for an exciting race there, but putting the pressure on Max can bring out the best performances in him, and hopefully he's feeling that. We know last year Max felt that qualifying was bottled for him. He was behind Sergio on the grid and there was no opportunity for him to take the win here in the Principality. Just over there was where Sergio Perez had his not so accidental crash to secure his starting position ahead of Max, so maybe it'll be another one this year. I think the stewards are going to have to figure out how to close that loophole. I know what they do in IndyCar is if you cause a red or a yellow flag at any point in session, your lap time is deleted, whether it's on purpose or whether it's a mistake. The mistakes are punished much, much harder in IndyCar, and that could be a solution in Formula One. So maybe we'll see that come in if the stewards can get their act together, because the current rule set that we have leaves that kind of Nico Rosberg gap. We saw him kind of first figure that out in 2014 and Sergio Perez get it in last year. And the consequences of that were that the Red Bull teammate dynamic, they kind of wanted to stop helping each other later on in the year because Max felt that he had been wronged, and quite rightly, right? The evidence was on Max's side in that situation, that Sergio had crashed on purpose to damage the car. It cost the team significantly, it cost his engineers time to go and repair the damage, and it stops anyone else getting their improving lap time. So hopefully we won't just see Max resort to that same tactic this year, and hopefully we'll see a green flag session until the end. It's most important for the rookies to get that confidence down. But let me know in the comments what you think, and tune back in tomorrow. We'll be talking the results from qualifying and looking forward to the race. Thank you for watching.